Looking back, I often wonder how different my life could have been if I hadn't accepted that invitation to a business seminar in New York. Just another networking trip, or so I thought. But it turned out to be the turning point that changed everything. It was during a typical corporate mixer, filled with forced small talk and the clinking of champagne glasses, that I first saw her, Sabrina Voss. She wasn't the center of attention, didn't crave it, but her presence seemed to ripple through the room. People were drawn to her without realizing why. I couldn't take my eyes off her, though the idea of striking up a conversation felt absurd. She looked completely out of reach, like someone who only existed in curated magazine spreads. Back then, I was a rising star in software sales, building a reputation with a near-flawless track record. Ambitious, respected, but still miles from the kind of world Sabrina belonged to. Fate handed me an opening when a mutual acquaintance introduced us. Just a few minutes of casual chatter, but I was stunned. Her dry humor, her cool confidence, her almost disinterested charm, she was impossible to ignore. And for the first time, I dared to think, maybe, somehow, I could fit into her world. Her world, though, was nothing like mine. Born into wealth, Sabrina was the heiress to a luxury perfume empire. Raised in privilege, surrounded by elite social circles, she lived in a reality most people couldn't even dream of. But she wasn't a passive princess. Sabrina had a rebellious streak that set her apart from her obedient brothers. Where they bowed to family tradition, she pushed boundaries. Her parents viewed her defiance as a liability, though they cloaked their disapproval in thin smiles and backhanded compliments. Our relationship was rocky from the beginning. Her parents made it painfully clear they thought I wasn't good enough. Every family gathering felt like a silent trial where I was always the defendant. The air was thick with judgment. Every glance, every comment, another reminder I didn't belong. Sabrina, for her part, couldn't have cared less. She brushed off their criticism like lint on designer fabric. It was that unshakable loyalty, or maybe her sheer indifference, that gave me the courage to ignore their snobbery. The prenuptial agreement, which nearly derailed our engagement, eventually became the key to getting them off our backs. But there was one condition in that prenup that caught me off guard. Sabrina didn't want children. Ever. It wasn't negotiable. She insisted her life didn't have room for kids, that she was focused on legacy through business, not family. I hesitated. Being a father had always been part of the plan for me, but I was so in love, I convinced myself love alone would be enough. For a while, it was. The first 3 years of our marriage felt like a dream. We traveled constantly, attended glittering galas, and lived in a world I never thought I'd be part of. But over time, the glamour started to wear thin. Sabrina's work trips became more frequent. She was often away for weeks, unreachable, her excuses vague. I tried to believe it was all about her career, but deep down, I knew something else was going on. Then came the moment of truth. A tabloid photo. Sabrina, smiling, too close to a man who definitely wasn't me. That image shattered everything. I couldn't ignore the signs anymore. Our marriage, built on glitter and illusion, had been quietly crumbling. Still, I stayed silent. I didn't confront her. I buried it, until the day she found out about my own affair. I came home after a brutal day at work, only to be met with the explosion I'd been dreading. Sabrina was waiting, her face already twisted with rage. The second I stepped through the door, she started screaming. "You pig!" she yelled, her voice cutting through me like glass. And that was just the beginning. The insults flew, fast and furious. I could barely make out the words, but her fury was undeniable. She had discovered my affair, and now I was the villain. It didn't matter that she had cheated first. Her betrayal didn't count, apparently. I stood there, silent, letting the storm pass. I didn't even know what to say. When she finally stopped shouting, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "What do you have to say for yourself? Should I just file for divorce?" I looked at her calmly and said, "Maybe you should. I've known about your affair for 9 years." She froze. Her face went pale. "What are you talking about?" Without another word, I opened my briefcase and handed her a folder of photographic proof. Sabrina's affair, documented in black and white. I had been carrying it for years, waiting for the right, or maybe wrong, moment. What happened next surprised me. Sabrina didn't rage. She didn't lash out or deny it. She dropped the photos, burst into tears, and whispered, "I don't want a divorce. I love you." Then she ran off to the bedroom, leaving me alone, confused, and unsure of what the hell had just happened. Sabrina is, to this day, the most beautiful woman I've ever laid eyes on. When we married, I thought she'd get bored of me and walk away in a couple of years. She came from money, influence, a world where men like me were accessories, not partners. Her family insisted on a prenup, and I had no issue with most of it, except for the clause about children. That one nearly made me walk away. Sabrina was crystal clear. No kids. Ever. And yet, by the time this chapter of our story played out, I had 4. Life's funny like that. I know, my life sounds like a complete train wreck. Maybe with a little more context, it'll make sense. My wife, Sabrina Voss, comes from a world most people only glimpse from a distance. Think gated mansions, private jets, and last names that carry the weight of entire empires. I'm Ethan Calloway, by the way. She never took my last name. Not that I expected her to. Sabrina's family name is etched into luxury history. Voss Scents is a global perfume powerhouse, and Sabrina, being part owner, had every reason to keep her identity intact. At first, it bothered me. The idea that we wouldn't even share a name felt distant. But over time, I saw the upside. The lack of association between us gave me a strange kind of freedom. Most people had no idea we were married. In certain circles, I existed in her shadow, if at all, and that anonymity offered some relief. When Sabrina agreed to marry me, I was stunned. She's drop-dead gorgeous, jet black hair, those icy blue eyes, and the kind of figure sculpted for fashion campaigns. She actually did some modeling in her teens, and it shows. Me? I'm all right. Average height, sandy hair, still in decent shape, but no one stopping traffic to stare at me. Sabrina, though? She's on another planet entirely. We met at a lavish party in the Hamptons, thrown by my college roommate and his wife. He'd made it big in commodities, and she, Laura, had been friends with Sabrina since their Vassar days. When I was introduced to Sabrina, it was like time paused. And it wasn't just me. Every guy in the room clocked her, married or not. Still, I played it cool. I knew better than to chase someone so clearly out of my league. A buddy had once told me, stick to women in your bracket or you'll just end up watching her leave with someone better. So I mingled, chatted up a few other women, tried not to stare. But Sabrina kept finding me. At first, I thought it was coincidence. By the 4th or 5th time, I knew better. She was interested. And while that was flattering, it was also unsettling. I couldn't imagine why someone like her would pursue someone like me. My first instinct? She wanted a fling. I figured I'd be discarded once the novelty wore off, and I wasn't exactly eager to play the role of temporary distraction. And yet, here we are, 12 years later. Married, though barely holding it together. Sometimes I wonder if this was her plan all along. But I pushed those doubts away back then. After that first night, Sabrina didn't back off. In fact, she chased me harder. I tried to play it off, but she was relentless. I mean, what could she possibly see in me? Sure, I was good at my job, senior sales director in a tech firm, bringing in about $5,000 a month, but compared to her income, I was a blip on the radar. Sabrina, on the other hand, earned $40 million a year, and that's not including bonuses. Her financial orbit made mine look microscopic. So of course, I assumed she was just toying with me. But the more indifferent I acted, the more interested she became. It was almost like she enjoyed the chase more than the prize. After about 4 weeks of her not-so-subtle advances, I gave in. We went out. One date turned into several. We didn't sleep together for 6 months, and it was over a year before we got married. Our wedding was a spectacle and over-the-top, jaw-dropping $6 million affair with 600 guests and no expense spared. Her family handled most of it, and from the beginning, they treated me like a tolerated inconvenience. Unsurprisingly, they insisted on a prenup. Sabrina was visibly uncomfortable bringing it up, but I wasn't offended. I wasn't marrying her for her money, and I said as much. That seemed to relieve her. She confessed that if I hadn't signed it, her parents would have cut her off entirely. As much as she pretended she didn't care what they thought, the money still mattered. The business still mattered. The prenup was elaborate. If we split within 3 years, I'd get a flat $500,000, only $500,000, as her lawyer put it. That word, only, still makes me laugh. Every year we stayed married after that added another $500,000, prorated if needed. Beyond that, everything remained separate. I couldn't claim any part of her empire, and she wouldn't touch what little I had. Fair, all things considered. But the clause that almost made me walk away was the one about kids. No children. Ever. I tried to protest, but Sabrina was immovable. She said she'd already fought her family tooth and nail on the issue years ago. They wanted heirs. She wanted freedom. That wasn't going to change, not for them, and certainly not for me. Eventually, I gave in. I told myself love was enough. That having Sabrina, this magnetic, powerful, stunning woman, was worth more than the dream of fatherhood. Her parents hated the idea even more than I did. Sabrina rarely spoke to them outside of business. Her relationship with them was tense, borderline hostile. On the rare occasions they visited, the tension was suffocating. Her father stared at me like I'd crawled out from under a rock. Her mother barely acknowledged me. But Sabrina never seemed fazed. She had long since stopped trying to please them. For the first 3 years, despite everything, our marriage worked. We were happy, or I thought we were. We traveled constantly. I went with her on some of her business trips at first, but after a while, the invitation stopped. She was gone at least a week every month, sometimes more. Occasionally, she'd be home for long stretches, and when she was, our sex life was electric, passionate, intense. But something didn't sit right. One morning, flipping through a gossip column, something I'd started doing more out of habit than curiosity, I saw a photo that froze me. It was from a high-profile party in Paris. There, in the corner of the shot, was someone who looked exactly like Sabrina. The problem? She was supposed to be in Japan. I stared at the image for a long time, then grabbed a magnifying glass just to be sure. It was her. No doubt. There was always the chance her schedule had changed, but she hadn't said anything. She never mentioned Paris. No updates. No itinerary. Just gone, as usual. That's when my gut told me what my heart didn't want to believe. Something was wrong. Early in our marriage, Sabrina had once suggested I quit my job and travel with her full-time. I refused. I told her I didn't want to be financially dependent. I needed to keep some piece of myself intact. She didn't like that. She acted like it was an insult. But I meant it. I didn't want to be another accessory on her arm, just another man orbiting her world of wealth and control. And now, years later, that decision felt like the only thing keeping me grounded. Eventually, Sabrina stopped asking me to quit my job. And in a strange way, that was a relief. Being married to someone like her came with access to practically unlimited resources, anything I could imagine, at my fingertips. But I rarely touched her money. I knew how tightly she monitored her finances, how her eyes would narrow if an unexplained charge popped up on a shared card. So I stuck to my own modest income. Most of what I made went toward gifts for Sabrina, an exhausting task. Really, because what do you buy the woman who already owns the world? Designer clothes, diamond jewelry, exotic trips. None of it felt new to her. She reacted to luxury the way most people react to tap water, completely unimpressed. As doubts crept in, I couldn't focus on much else. I stopped sleeping, barely ate. My mind was spinning with a single need, the truth. I ended up hiring a private investigator, paying entirely out of pocket. I chose a small firm in St. Louis, somewhere completely off Sabrina's radar, far from the orbit of Voss sense. I wanted discretion, and I wanted answers. By then, Sabrina's time away had ballooned. She was gone close to 2 weeks every month. Yet oddly, our sex life remained intense, borderline feral. She'd act heartbroken every time she left and practically tackle me when she came back. For a while, I almost convinced myself I was just being paranoid. But deep down, I knew better. About a month later, the report landed on my desk. I remember the moment vividly: quiet room, cold coffee, heart racing. The contents hit me like a freight train. Sabrina had been having an affair with Julian Ashford. Yes, that Julian Ashford, the European banking prince. His family controlled a vast financial empire, and Julian was the golden boy at the top of the pyramid. Handsome, connected, rich beyond comprehension. He and Sabrina had known each other since childhood. Once upon a time, everyone assumed they'd marry. But they didn't. Sabrina ended up with me. Julian married Clara Demetriou, the daughter of a Greek shipping magnate. The two of them had 3 kids and a picture-perfect family, until Clara died 6 months ago. According to the investigator, that loss removed the final barrier keeping Julian and Sabrina apart. I read the part about their past over and over. They'd broken up years ago because Sabrina refused to have children. Julian wanted a family. His parents had even threatened to cut him off if he compromised on that. So they split. He married someone else. Sabrina found me. And now? With Clara gone, the door was wide open again. I spiraled. For 5 straight days, I was a ghost, sleepwalking through meetings, ignoring calls, unable to concentrate. It was obvious this wasn't just an affair. Sabrina and Julian had history, passion, real roots. Their flame hadn't just been rekindled, it had never truly gone out. But here's what I couldn't wrap my head around. Sabrina still acted like she loved me. Every time she returned home, it was like she couldn't get enough of me. She was warm, affectionate, even tender. Our nights were explosive, our mornings soft. If I didn't know better, I'd have believed I was the center of her world. So why hadn't she left? At first, I was ready to end things. The moment I read the report, I wanted to confront her, demand a divorce, walk away with whatever dignity I had left. But the longer I sat with it, the more complicated it got. 3 things held me back. First, and maybe most pathetic, I was still in love with her. Despite everything. Second, our physical chemistry was off the charts. She made me feel wanted, even if it was just a lie. And third, well, the money. Thanks to our prenup, I was earning approximately $1,370 a day just by staying married. Every 365 days meant another $500,000 in my pocket. Financially, it was the smartest non-decision I could make. So I decided to wait. No rash moves. Just watch, observe, play it cool. And that's when the idea started to form, half crazy, half justified. If she was cheating on me, maybe I should do the same. At first, it was just a passing thought. I doubted I'd go through with it. But then came Monica Reeves. Monica worked on my team, one of my top salespeople. Smart, sharp, with a killer instinct for negotiation. She had that girl next door beauty, maybe an 8.5 if Sabrina was a Hollywood 11. Recently divorced, too. Her husband had cheated. She didn't seem broken up about it, but the bitterness still lingered. "You've been off all week," she said one afternoon, stepping into my office. "Something I can help with?" I hesitated. I liked Monica. I respected her. And that day, I opened up. "I just found out Sabrina's been cheating," I admitted. Monica didn't even blink. "Easy," she said. "Divorce her and move on." "It's not that simple," I replied. I told her about the prenup, the money, the lifestyle, the insane perks of staying married to Sabrina Voss, chauffeurs, designer wardrobes, access to a world most people never glimpse. Monica nodded slowly. "Let me think on it," she said, and left. The next day, she came back, closed the door behind her, and sat across from me. "I think I've got your solution," she said. "Oh? Let's hear it," I replied, curious. "Stay married to Sabrina." I raised an eyebrow. "That's the solution?" She smirked, with a twist. Now she had my attention. "Go on. Stay married," she said. "But start an affair." I started to interrupt, but she held up a finger. "Just hear me out." I leaned back in my chair. "Okay, Monica. I'm listening." "You're stuck between 2 things," she explained. "First, you still love Sabrina, even after all this. And second, you want kids. You've always wanted kids. Sabrina won't give you that. Ever. An affair alone won't fix it. You can't exactly get your mistress pregnant and expect your marriage to survive." I nodded slowly. "Exactly." She hesitated, then dropped the bomb. "I think I could be that solution," she said, giving me a look that was both bold and soft. "I mean it. I want this." I blinked. "Wait, are you saying you want to be my mistress?" "Not just a mistress," she said, her voice steady. "I want more." I frowned. "More how?" "Let me finish," she said. "Ethan, you've known me longer than you've known Sabrina. You've always believed she was out of your league. But I never saw it that way. Sabrina's lucky to have you, and she's a fool to risk losing you. But since she already has, I'm not going to let this chance pass me by." Monica took a breath before continuing, her eyes steady. "I've always been attracted to you, Ethan. But I knew I didn't stand a chance the moment Sabrina entered your life. I mean, how could I compete with her? But things have changed." Her voice softened. "You want children. So do I. Sabrina's hurt you. I want to help you heal. Here's my proposal. Become my lover. We'll keep it quiet so you can stay married to Sabrina. I'll give you the children you've always wanted. You'll have your life with her and a family of your own. It's a win-win." I just sat there, stunned. I won't lie, what she said both shocked and intrigued me. It sounded insane, but a part of me couldn't help being drawn in. Still, I wasn't about to leap without thinking things through. "I appreciate you saying that," I replied, genuinely. "I'm flattered." "Really? But there are complications. Money, for one. Then there's raising and naming kids, and what if somewhere down the road, you want to get married again?" Monica nodded, clearly having anticipated my concerns. "Financially, I'm stable. I own my house. I'd only ask we split the cost of raising the kids. Your name would go on their birth certificates, but unless you say otherwise, they'd take my last name." She hesitated, then added, Marriage? I don't see myself doing that again, but I'm not naive. Things change. That's why I think we should have a written agreement. Either of us can walk away with 6 months' notice. If I marry, you get to decide custody. If you end it, I keep custody, but you'd still be in their lives. Always. As their father. We sat in silence, both of us absorbing what the other had said. Eventually, I broke the quiet. It's an unusual offer, but an intriguing one. I'm not ready to commit to something so serious, not yet. What if we just start dating and see how that goes? Monica smiled. That's fair. So we began casually seeing each other. Dinners, dancing, low-key outings at first. Eventually, we added the occasional play or gallery visit. It felt easy, comfortable. She was funny, warm, and had none of Sabrina's edge. Time with her didn't feel like I had to measure every word or pass some invisible test. It was simple. Compared to the long nights I spent alone in that oversized, sterile house waiting for Sabrina's return, Monica was a welcome change. On our 5th date, we hugged in the car for what felt like forever. By the 6th, she looked at me and said, "We know we click on dates. Let's find out if we click in bed." I wasn't sure what to expect. Sabrina had always been intense in bed, passionate, commanding. Monica was softer, kavya, and to my surprise, even more alluring up close. That night didn't end with 1 round, or even 2. We couldn't get enough of each other. Driving home, I braced for guilt, but it never came. Instead, I felt relief, peace. My time with Monica made me feel wanted in a way I hadn't in years. The next morning, she walked into my office with a confident glow, shut the door behind her, and kissed me. "Last night proved we're definitely compatible," she said. "So what now?" I laughed. "Well, why don't you find a lawyer, someone outside the company, to help draft that agreement?" Her smile widened. "Perfect. My brother Tim's an attorney. Smart, discreet, and someone I trust completely. He even warned me not to marry my ex." And just like that, she was out the door again, back to work as if she hadn't just casually proposed building a future with me. Over the next few days, things returned to normal, or at least the new version of normal. Monica didn't mention the idea again, so I figured she'd moved on. I didn't bring it up either. In fact, I was starting to seriously consider divorcing Sabrina outright and walking away from it all. The money would hurt, sure, but I wouldn't be left broke. I'd still have enough to start fresh, and I wouldn't have to keep pretending everything was fine. Then, 2 weeks later, Monica surprised me again. She walked into my office, calm as ever, and placed a folder on my desk. "Here it is," she said. "Take your time. Make whatever edits you need. If we both agree, we'll sign it with Tim. He'll bring witnesses and a notary." I stared at the envelope. She hadn't brought it up since that night. We hadn't even gone out again. I assumed the whole thing had quietly died. But here it was. A fully written, legally reviewed agreement. Suddenly, the possibility snapped back into focus. Inside the folder was everything we'd discussed, laid out in clean legal language. Tim had been thorough, almost unnervingly so. He covered things Monica and I hadn't even thought about. One clause in particular hit me hard. What would happen to the kids if something happened to one of us? That stopped me cold. But again, Tim had it figured out. If Monica passed away, he and his wife would raise the children, unless I wanted full custody. If I chose not to, I'd still have unlimited visitation, and the kids would grow up knowing who I was. If I died, the children's last names would be changed to mine, and my assets would go into a trust for them until they turned 25. Reading through the pages, I realized how real this was. Monica wasn't playing around. She was all in. And strangely, it didn't feel crazy anymore. It felt possible. For the first time, the idea of building something new, outside the twisted wreckage of my marriage, didn't feel like a betrayal. It felt like survival. I was still weighing it all when Sabrina, completely out of the blue, mentioned her schedule would be even busier next year. More travel, more time away, more excuses to be absent from our life. And just like that, I had my answer. The very next day, I told Monica, "Call Tim. Let's set the meeting." Tim, a sharp and no-nonsense attorney, approached the meeting with a cool professionalism, though it was clear he genuinely cared about Monica's well-being. He offered me a handshake and a knowing smile. "Ethan, you're one lucky guy," he said, shaking his head slightly. "Your wife is a knockout, and my sister's stunning too. You've got the best of both worlds." I laughed awkwardly, but Monica shot him a look. "Tim, don't forget Tessa. She's an incredible woman, and you're lucky to have her." He chuckled. I know. But a setup like this? Even Tessa might be jealous." Kidding, of course. She's more than enough for me. Monica rolled her eyes, satisfied, and we got back to business. One part of the agreement we reviewed that day outlined how Monica and I would schedule our intimate time to coincide with Sabrina's business trips. In the beginning, we tailored everything to align with Monica's most fertile windows. At work, Monica and I kept things strictly professional. She even told colleagues she was done dating and planned to become a mother through artificial insemination, a cover story we both silently agreed was perfect. 3 months after we first slept together, Monica called with news that sent my heart racing. She was pregnant. Throughout her pregnancy, we maintained our physical relationship as best we could. And when she went into labor, I couldn't be there, Sabrina was home, and I couldn't risk exposing everything. Still, I rushed to the hospital the moment I could to meet my son. We named him Gavin, after Monica's grandfather. 18 months later, our daughter Jennifer was born. Shortly after Jennifer's arrival, Monica asked if she could become a stay-at-home mom. She explained that she'd saved enough to cover 5 years, until both kids were in school. I was thrilled. I even set up a fund to quietly pay her mortgage and utilities. We hadn't planned on a third child, but during one of Sabrina's trips, Monica miscalculated her ovulation cycle. Tearfully, she called me to say she was pregnant again. She feared I'd be angry, but I wasn't. I reassured her I loved her and every one of our children. This time, I was there in the delivery room. Scotty's birth was a moment I'll never forget. I was on cloud 9 for days afterward. Before his arrival, we talked about preventing more pregnancies. After some playful debate, we left the decision up to a coin toss. Heads, Monica would get her tubes tied. Tails, I'd get a vasectomy. It landed on heads, and she went through with the procedure. For a while, life felt steady, balanced, even. But then came the twist. Sabrina's travel schedule, once so predictably chaotic, suddenly changed. Her trips were drastically reduced. And that, more than anything, disrupted everything I had carefully built with Monica. If Sabrina wasn't traveling to see Julian, I couldn't justify sneaking off to see Monica. It felt hypocritical. And while I'd long since accepted the double standard, this time it weighed heavily on me. When Sabrina first canceled a trip, she came home happy and affectionate. At first, I was relieved. Monica, too, seemed understanding. But as weeks passed, both women grew tense. Sabrina began talking about reconnecting, insisting we spend more time together. Meanwhile, Monica was clearly frustrated. We hadn't been intimate in 6 weeks, and it showed. I was still sleeping with Sabrina, but the guilt gnawed at me. It began to affect my performance in every way. My life felt like it was slowly spinning out of control. And then, everything blew up. One evening, I walked into the house and found Sabrina waiting. She discovered the truth. Her face was pale, trembling with rage and heartbreak. "You're cheating on me," she said. I didn't deny it. I was too exhausted to lie. "You're right," I said quietly. "Maybe we should just get a divorce." But what happened next stunned me. She stared at me, then burst into tears. "I love you. I don't want a divorce," she sobbed, then turned and fled to the bedroom. I followed her, confused. She lay face down on the bed, sobbing uncontrollably. I sat beside her and gently pulled her into my arms. "You were right, Sabrina," I said. "We've been drifting apart for years. I honestly thought you wanted out. I thought you were ready to leave me." "No," she choked. "That's not what I want." "Then why bring it up?" I asked, genuinely baffled. She looked up at me, eyes glassy. "Because I thought it would wake you up. I thought it would make you see how badly we need to fix things." I hesitated, trying to find the right words. Then, I finally said what I'd kept hidden for years. "Sabrina, I've known about you and Julian." Her body stiffened. "What?" she whispered, stunned. "I've known for years. I just never said anything." At first, I was furious, ready to file for divorce. But eventually, I realized I'd only be hurting myself. And I still loved you. That's what made it so hard. Sabrina looked like she'd been hit by a truck. "Why didn't you say something?" she asked in a voice barely above a whisper. "Because I couldn't take the rejection," I said. "And honestly, I didn't think it would change anything. Then someone at work gave me an idea, another way to cope." Her eyes narrowed. "So you do have a mistress," she said, voice breaking. "You're unbelievable. Get out. Just leave." It was the first time I fully saw the wreckage between us. She'd betrayed me. I'd betrayed her. Yet here we were, two people still trying to pretend we could salvage something from the wreck. Sabrina's fury baffled me. She had started this. She had Julian. Why was I the villain now? I took her words as a cue to leave. I went straight to Monica's. Before I could say a word, she pulled me into the bedroom. Later, as we lay together, she finally spoke. "I thought you were done with me," she admitted, voice soft. "Sabrina's always home now. I kept telling myself I didn't need you anymore. But the truth is, I was going crazy without you." I told her everything that had happened, Sabrina's breakdown, the fight, the confession. Monica listened quietly. Then, to my surprise, tears welled in her eyes. "Why are you crying?" I asked, sitting up. She wiped her face and said, "Because it's obvious she still loves you. She'll do anything to keep you. And that scares me." "It doesn't make sense," I said. "Sabrina was happy with Julian for years. Why would she care now?" "I don't know," Monica whispered. "But something shifted. She doesn't want to lose you." Then she looked at me, her voice trembling. "It's not fair. She left you, and I've been here all along. I want you." At that point, nothing made sense anymore. The emotional chaos, the betrayals, the secrets, none of it fit into any kind of rational framework. So I did the only thing I could think of. I kissed Monica, made love to her again, and tried to quiet the noise in my head. By morning, after another quiet moment of closeness, I headed into the office, determined to start untangling the mess my life had become. But when I stepped into my office, I froze. Sabrina was there, seated in my chair, her arms crossed and face unreadable, but not friendly. "Good morning, Sabrina," I said carefully. "This is unexpected. I don't recall you ever visiting me here. What's going on?" Her tone was sharp. "You know exactly why I'm here. We need to talk about your affair." Realizing this was no hallway conversation, I shut the office door and sat across from her. "All right," I said. "What do you want to discuss?" She wasted no time. "First, who is she?" I kept my voice level. "Her name is Monica Reeves. She used to work for me." Sabrina's eyes narrowed. "Did you hire someone to investigate me? Or were you just sloppy?" "What?" "No," I replied, startled. "Why would I?" "One of my friends saw you," she cut in. "At a restaurant. Said you were kissing her. Passionately." He tried to follow but lost her. She let the words settle like a trap snapping shut. "So, are you planning to keep seeing her?" I could barely manage a response. "Oh God." "Well," she pressed. "Sabrina, I doubt you're going to like what I have to say," I told her. "But I think you need to hear it. Afterward, we'll both probably agree. It's time to end this marriage." I saw sadness flicker in her eyes, but she gave a faint nod, urging me to continue. "If you had kept traveling like before, we wouldn't be having this conversation." "What does that have to do with anything?" she snapped. I looked her dead in the eye. "I've known about your affair with Julian for years, Sabrina. All those business trips. You were seeing him. And while you were gone, I started seeing Monica." Her face went cold. "Do you have a child with her?" "Sit down," I said firmly. "No, I don't have a child with her. I have 3. Sabrina stared at me, stunned. "You always knew I wanted kids." "You didn't. So I found a way to have a family." Sabrina sat in silence for a long while, trying to absorb it. Eventually, she stood. "I need time to process this," she said quietly before walking out. I assumed it wouldn't take long before the divorce papers came through. Her lawyers were always quick. In the meantime, I figured it would be safest to stay at Monica's while Sabrina sorted through her emotions. That night, surrounded by Monica and the kids, I felt a strange calm settle over me. For the first time in ages, I felt happy, whole. But the peace didn't last. The next morning, Sabrina called my office. Expecting to hear that the divorce was moving forward, I picked up. Instead, she said, "I want to meet Monica. And your children." "What?" I asked, taken aback. "Sabrina, I know you're angry. And honestly, I'm not sure you even have a right to be. But I won't let you pull Monica or the kids into this mess." "I'm not trying to start anything," she replied, her voice surprisingly calm. "I swear, I won't do anything to upset, embarrass, or hurt them. Or you." I hesitated. "I just want to meet them. I'll even bring a nanny to help with the kids while Monica and I talk. If you still want the divorce after that, I'll respect the prenup. No games." I weighed the risks. If the meeting went sideways, it could make everything worse. But if she was being honest, it might be the cleanest way to move forward. "I'll need to speak with Monica first," I said carefully. "If she agrees, we'll set it up." "How about tomorrow? 10 a.m.? At the house?" Sabrina offered. When I brought it up to Monica, her reaction was exactly what I expected. "If she sees us side by side, she'll know she's better than me," Monica said, her voice wavering with insecurity. I shook my head. This isn't about who's prettier or wealthier. This is about closing the book. It's the fastest way to move on. Reluctantly, Monica agreed. The next morning, I drove her and the kids to Sabrina's estate. Monica was clearly overwhelmed by the sheer size of the place. Meanwhile, the kids were bouncing with excitement. I told them about the pool, game room, and even the ice cream bar inside. Instead of walking in like I used to, I rang the doorbell. It felt appropriate. To my surprise, Sabrina herself opened the door. Normally, staff would have answered. There were always a few people around during the day. Ethan, Sabrina greeted, smiling slightly. This is still your home. You don't need to ring. I wasn't sure what kind of welcome to expect, I admitted. Sabrina introduced us to Margot, a kind-looking woman in her 50s. She's the nanny, Sabrina said. She'll take the kids to the pool so we can talk. We headed to the kitchen, which offered a view of the backyard. Sabrina offered drinks. I asked for a soda. Monica requested water. Sabrina poured herself a glass of wine. I eyed the bottle, mildly annoyed. If I'd known wine was on the table, I might have gone with something stronger than Pepsi. Sabrina broke the silence. So, Monica, Ethan says you've been seeing each other for about 8 years. As much as we could, Monica said quietly. He only saw us when you were away. But he always made time for the kids. Even if it was short, he was always there for birthdays, school events, everything. Sabrina glanced at me, her expression unreadable. Then she turned back to Monica. So you've been happy with him? Monica straightened her shoulders. Ethan's the best man I've ever known. He's a better part-time husband and father than most men are full-time. So no, I don't want anyone else. For a moment, silence filled the space. Sabrina sipped her wine and looked out the window at the kids splashing in the pool. No one said a word, but something had definitely shifted. I want whatever Ethan's willing to give me, Monica said quietly. Sabrina's expression softened. For a moment, I saw something rare, vulnerability. A tear slipped down her cheek before she quickly wiped it away. She turned toward me. Ethan, could you check on the kids? I'd like to speak with Monica alone. I looked at Monica, uncertain. She gave me a nervous nod. Outside, I kicked off my sandals, sat by the pool, and dipped my feet into the water. The kids splashed and laughed, their joy a strange contrast to the heaviness swirling in my chest. Regret lingered. Regret that Sabrina had never wanted this. Regret that we had broken something once so promising. I glanced at the kitchen window now and then. At first, Sabrina did most of the talking. Then Monica chimed in. I saw Sabrina cry. Then Monica. Then they were both crying. Eventually, Monica started writing something down. When the two of them hugged, I wasn't sure what to think. Sabrina appeared at the door and waved me inside. I walked back in slowly, unsure what I was walking into. For a moment, I considered asking if whiskey was finally on the table, but thought better of it. Ethan, Monica said, reaching for my hand. We've come to an agreement. My stomach dropped. Okay, I said cautiously. Am I going to hate this? Sabrina gave a faint smile. We'll let you decide. I leaned back, bracing for whatever this was. I came in expecting divorce talk. Now I felt like the room had flipped upside down. Look, I said, trying to stay grounded. Sabrina, you've been cheating on me for almost 9 years. And yes, I cheated too, but only after you started it. I don't get why you're clinging to this marriage when you could have left for Julian. Divorce me. Be free. Sabrina burst into tears. Monica smacked my arm. What was that for? I asked, irritated. Julian is dead, Monica said softly. Oh, I blinked, taken off guard. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Sabrina took a shaky breath, wiping her eyes. You're right. I cheated. Julian was my first love. I thought I'd moved on, until I met you. She looked straight at me. He broke up with me because I didn't want children. When I saw him again, he was grieving his wife. I wanted to help him. That led to everything else. But even while I loved him, I realized I loved you just as much. Maybe more. She paused, steadying herself. When he died of a heart attack, he'd been pressuring me to leave you. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't bear losing you. I still love you, Ethan. I need you. And I know you love me too. Even if you've built a family with Monica. If I can love 2 people at once, I know you can too. I understand I can't have all of you. But like Monica, I want what I can get. I leaned back, exhaling. I imagine most men would see this as a fantasy. 2 beautiful women, both wanting to share me. But all I could see was a disaster waiting to happen. They stared at me with a mix of hope and nerves. I sighed. So, how exactly is this supposed to work? Monica pulled out a notepad and flipped to a page. Apparently, they'd drawn up a schedule. Sabrina would remain in the master suite. Monica and the kids would live in the north wing, which had 3 bedrooms and its own bathrooms. I would alternate nights, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays with Monica, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays with Sabrina. Sundays were open. I could choose. Sleeping arrangements didn't automatically mean intimacy. Any physical closeness had to be mutually agreed upon. If one wasn't in the mood, I wasn't allowed to switch to the other that night. That was a hard rule. There were more, but that was the framework. I need time to think, I told them. This is the lot. They understood, but made it clear. This was either the shared arrangement or nothing. At first, I thought it was a bluff. Surely one of them would eventually want me full-time. But what if they weren't bluffing? What if this really was all or nothing? Conveniently, I had a business trip the next day. I promised to give them my answer when I got back. Oddly enough, I managed to focus. Closed a major deal with Stellar Enterprises. But as the plane touched down on the flight home, I realized something. I'd already made my decision. I was going to accept the arrangement. Monica brought the revised terms to her brother, Tim, to draft an updated legal agreement. As she explained the new situation, Tim's eyebrows rose slowly. When she finished, he turned to me, incredulous. "Ethan, I officially hate you," he said, shaking his head. I laughed. "You could always get a mistress." Monica slapped my arm, and Tim chuckled. "Not a chance. Tessa would bury me alive." For the first 7 months, the arrangement worked shockingly well. No, my sex life didn't become some wild fantasy, but it was consistent. I was intimate with one or both women 3 to 5 times a week. Not bad, all things considered. During the day, Margot took care of the kids, and Monica returned to work in my office. Sabrina was wary at first, but ended up offering Monica a better position, higher pay, great benefits. Maybe it was her way of keeping the peace. Or maybe she wanted to keep Monica close enough to monitor. Either way, it worked. For a while. But even in a carefully balanced house, with rules and schedules and silence agreements, I couldn't help but wonder, how long could this possibly last? Monica seemed genuinely content working for Sabrina. They'd found a strange rhythm that worked, for all of us. But just shy of the 7-month mark, I came home one evening to find them both seated at the dining table, waiting. The look on their faces told me this wasn't about dinner. "There's something in the agreement that needs adjusting," Sabrina said, without preamble. My stomach dropped. Here we go, I thought. I had no idea how far off the rails things were about to go. Sabrina didn't waste time. "Ethan, I want to have a baby." I froze. Out of all the things they could have brought to the table, that was not on my list. Sabrina wanting a child? It felt like I'd walked into a parallel universe. "I know," she said, her voice quieter now. "I've always said I didn't want kids. But watching you with Monica's children, it changed me. I see how much joy they bring you. I want that too. I want to feel that kind of love." All I could manage was a stunned, "Okay." That one word apparently unlocked something, because both women squealed, practically smothering me with hugs and kisses. And then came the second bombshell. Monica glanced at Sabrina, then back at me. "We've also agreed. You shouldn't stay married to Sabrina." Panic. Immediate. "So let me get this straight," I said tightly. "You want me to get Sabrina pregnant? Then you're going to kick me to the curb? Was that the plan all along?" Sabrina's face flushed. "No, that's not it." Monica rushed to my side. "Ethan, don't even think that. I love you. I'd be devastated if you left." Sabrina nodded through tears. "And I feel the same way." "Then what are you talking about?" I asked, exasperated. "Because right now it feels like I'm being set up." Sabrina gently took my hand. "Let's sit. Have a drink. I'll explain everything clearly, and we'll respect whatever you decide." I poured myself a shot of whiskey. After it settled, I looked at her. "Are you absolutely sure about this?" "A child." She nodded. "I never thought I had that instinct. But watching you with them, something shifted. I can't ignore it anymore." The new arrangement adjusted our schedule again. My nights with Sabrina were now tailored around her fertility window. For months later, she was pregnant. Charlotte was born with Sabrina's icy blue eyes and my grin. She was perfect. Monica and the kids adored her. Gavin, Jennifer, and Scotty welcomed her like they'd waited for her all along. As for the divorce, turns out that was part of a larger plan. Sabrina suggested we file after Charlotte's birth so I could legally marry Monica. That way, her children would face no stigma. Sabrina, using her network and influence, would quietly adjust records to make it appear Monica and I had been married when the kids were born. Later, once the dust had settled, I'd divorce Monica and remarry Sabrina. It was an elaborate dance of legal maneuvering, public optics, and careful narrative control. When I asked, couldn't you just fake the paperwork without all the theatrics? They both looked at me and said, in perfect sync, that's a woman's business. I didn't argue. The only downside to Sabrina becoming a mother was her parents. They started visiting frequently. They wanted to see their granddaughter, of course. But their constant presence added a new layer of tension. They didn't fully buy Sabrina's story about always having an assistant present, and their suspicious looks confirmed as much. As for the kids, in their early years, they didn't think much of our family setup. It just was what it was. Later, when questions started surfacing, we told them their mothers were best friends and that I'd been married to each of them at different times. The finer details could wait until adulthood. Unorthodox? Absolutely. But somehow, it worked. Our lives didn't resemble anyone else's. From the outside, it probably looked like some bizarre, modern fairy tale tangled in scandal. But living it was more complicated, more human. And somehow, over time, the chaos evolved into something functional. After Charlotte's birth, things settled. Life between the two households, now officially shared custody homes, took on a surprising harmony. Charlotte, in many ways, became the heart of it all. Her laugh, her first steps, her tiny arms wrapping around her siblings, she became the bridge. The reminder of what mattered most. Monica embraced Charlotte like she was her own. She often said that watching the children play together felt like healing, like the universe had patched something she didn't know was broken. The older kids loved their baby sister. Their laughter often echoed through the halls of the estate, filling once quiet rooms with warmth. As for Sabrina, motherhood softened her in ways I never expected. She became more reflective, less guarded. Her sharp edges dulled into something gentler. She still had fire, but now it flickered with purpose instead of pride. Professionally, something unexpected happened too. Sabrina and Monica, once wary, almost rivals, began to collaborate. What started as logistical coordination turned into a true partnership. Sabrina brought vision, branding, and power. Monica added organization, intuition, and clarity. Together, they made a formidable team. They even joked about it. Between business and family, Monica said once, laughing over coffee, we've basically created a joint venture in chaos. Sabrina smirked. And we're surprisingly efficient. That much was true. Our family may not have been traditional, but it was ours. And somehow, in the mess, we found rhythm. Each chapter came with its own set of conflicts, heartbreaks, and adjustments, but also its share of peace, joy, reflection, and oddly enough, love. Complicated, tangled love, but love nonetheless. They had, almost accidentally, created the most efficient partnership imaginable. And I somehow thrived in it. Living between two households, two versions of love, and one sprawling, complicated family, I learned to compartmentalize and treasure the time I had with each. It wasn't always smooth. Playing husband to Monica and ex to Sabrina while still being her partner required emotional gymnastics, but we made it work. Even Sabrina's parents, once dead set against me and barely civil to Monica, began to thaw. Their frequent visits to see Charlotte functioned as a kind of truce. While they still refused to acknowledge my other children or fully accept Monica, their presence brought a touch of normalcy to Charlotte's world. And that mattered. The years blurred, birthdays, scraped knees, recitals, new jobs, late-night talks, and small shared victories. Charlotte grew into a perceptive, gentle soul, bright, curious, and startlingly diplomatic. It wasn't uncommon for her to settle disputes among her older siblings with calm precision. Her small voice would often chime in, "We're all one big family, remember?" Simple, uncomplicated, and yet, somehow, exactly what we all needed to hear. But as the kids grew, so did the questions. Eventually, we knew it was time for honesty. We sat them down together, ready to explain everything. The history, the decisions, the chaos, and love behind our blended world. During that conversation, Gavin, the eldest, asked the question we'd all silently dreaded. So, who do I belong to? Mom or Dad? The room fell still. Sabrina leaned forward, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. You belong to yourself, she said. But you're also part of all of us. What defines family isn't labels, it's how we love and care for each other. He nodded slowly, her words sinking in. From outside the house, the whispers never really stopped. Sabrina's brand and social standing made us a target for gossip, speculation, thinly veiled curiosity, sometimes even open judgment. But we weathered it all with quiet confidence. Sabrina often joked, "Let them gossip. At least someone's paying attention." As the kids became teens, the challenges changed shape. Rebellion, therapy sessions, emotional outbursts, sometimes from the kids, sometimes from us. But through every storm, we stayed grounded in one unshakable truth. No matter how complicated, our love for each other and for the family we built was real. One of the most unforgettable moments came when Charlotte, at 16, sat beside me on the porch one evening and asked, "Dad, how did you, Mom, and Monica do this? Like, actually make it work?" I paused, the weight of years pressing in. "We made it work," I said, "because we chose love, even when it wasn't easy. We built this family not because it was simple, but because it was worth fighting for." That conversation stayed with me. It became my quiet reminder of everything we built. Messy, non-traditional, resilient. Eventually, the children grew up and went their own ways, chasing dreams shaped by their upbringing, rooted in the values we gave them. Gavin became a lawyer, dedicated to advocating for unconventional family rights, families like ours. Jennifer followed her passion for nature, pursuing environmental science and carrying forward Monica's reverence for the natural world. Scotty, ever the showman, joined Sabrina's company, injecting fresh energy into the Voss brand with a blend of charm and business savvy. And Charlotte, with her diplomat's heart, found a calling in international relations. She was born to bridge divides, and she started with us. As for me, Sabrina, and Monica, our love evolved. It matured, shifted into something deeper than romance, something forged by years of sacrifice, understanding, and shared responsibility. We found ourselves reflecting often, especially later in life. We'd look around and marvel at how far we'd come. From suspicion and heartbreak to a kind of harmony we never could have imagined. In our twilight years, we spent many evenings together on the veranda of the estate, watching the sun dip behind the trees as the laughter of grandchildren filled the air behind us. Sabrina turned to me once, her eyes shining with the kind of gratitude that doesn't need to be spoken. "We did good, didn't we?" she asked. I smiled, heart full. "Better than good," I said. "We did extraordinary." And so, our story, unconventional, complicated, beautiful, continued. A reminder that love, in all its messy, layered forms, has the power to transform, heal, and endure.